the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Hello and greetings. This is Muhammad Suleiman Ahmadzai, here with a new session for you, my friends. Today we studied together. We just started the Paint program, covered its definition, how to open it, and what the interface does, just like we studied Notepad, WordPad, and other programs. After that, we discussed what we do with the lessons inside. Well, try to review the first part of the section together in Notepad and in WordPad. It's exactly the same way. The Quick Access toolbar has the standard 3 buttons. Here, we can add 8 more buttons besides these. What do? We activate them. For example, New, Pan, Save, Print, Preview. Send an email, undo, redo, since they're active along with save, so its 8 default functions are activated here. When we want to click on its position, usually we can choose it at the end of the ribbon or above the ribbon. And if we click above this, the ribbon gets minimized, and if we click again, it exits from the vault. Here, by right-clicking, the task is performed. Minimize the ribbon, and you can do this with the button. What I previously read above was either show below the ribbon or show above the ribbon. Break time equals 0.5s/. And as we mentioned together before, for example, its shortcut is Ctrl plus F1. If we want, we can do it with our keyboard as well. The ribbon gets minimized. We said that besides these 8 tasks, some commands that we need, we can also tell it, for example, we want pencil, eraser, and highlighter, we can still add them to the Quick Access toolbar. Or for example, if we want magnifier, we can add it here as well. Additional tasks can also be added. If we don't want it, then we just right-click. We select Remove from Quick Access toolbar. Alright, these are the 8 tasks we have here. Some of these tasks are also repeated in the File tab, and some are repeated down here as well. Alright, we'll still work with all of them. Before anything else, we adjust the page size as needed. There are 2 ways to do this. One way is the classic method, where we use these sizing points. Or we can just press Ctrl plus A. In Ctrl plus A, right here, we specify exactly what the width and height of the page should be. If I click on Default, by default it brings up this size for us. That means the standard width and height of the Paint page is this size, which is about 9.5 inches wide and about 5-point-something inches tall. But let's tell it no. For example, we want it to be based on the ruler is visible, and let's say we want to set it to 15 inches. How tall should it be? We say, let it be this much, meaning 6. Well, we don't always write 6. It depends on the ruler. Imagine if your ruler is, for example, set to pixels. For example, the range might be 600 points. You don't write 600. You write 600. For now, since it's written as 6, it's based on the current ruler. Now, try to set its width to 15 inches and its height to 6 inches, as we wanted. Now, besides that, we could have simply drawn a lower-level mathematical scale as much as needed. Alright, try to think about it here, for example. Here, for instance, we have a drawing, we have an object, or we've drawn a shape. Look, here the very first command we have is called Save. With every click, our file gets saved with the name Save. We had already learned its shortcut, this Ctrl plus S. We specify where it should be saved. We've explained all of this for you in WordPad and Notepad. You select and then give the name. In WordPad and Paint, you didn't choose a format here, because this program is for images. We have different image formats. There are various photo formats, and we specify which format it should save for us. We have different photo formats. We have bitmap, 16 colors, 256-bit color, 24-bit color. Bitmap itself, the Paint program says, actually means it gets saved in a format so that whenever you open the file again, it only opens in Paint. Well, we can also choose the quality, select which quality we want. The highest quality, I think, is 256 colors. We also have other formats like JPG, the photos we take with a camera or with a mobile phone. That format, then, is the JPG format. GIF is for images that are animated, they call it GIF for those. There are also TIFF images. This one has high quality. It's usually used for printing purposes. Sometimes, when they print posters, they use this format afterwards. We also have PNG formats. Some images need no background, like a logo saved in transparent mode. For example, when you bring in a logo, it doesn't have a background. You just place the logo onto the page. It doesn't have a background itself. That's why those kinds of images are called PNG. So all of these are formats. If you want to know the abbreviations for these formats, we had already explained them to you in our program, in our slides. We had one called GIF. GIF itself stands for Graphical Interchange Format, or we have BMP. For example, bitmap image. The images from the Paint program are called bitmap images, or PDF, which stands for Portable Document Format. I remember over there we had images called PNG, as I mentioned. They don't have a background. That's called portable network graphics, or JPG. The photos we take with a camera or with a mobile phone, those photos are called JPGs. It stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group. They understand GUI as Graphical User Interface. When we go to save a file, here it asks us some questions. It might say PNG, which stands for Portable Network Graphics, or GIF, which is Graphical Interface, or JPG. Well, each of these has its own abbreviation. But again, in detail, what are these? So, these are things you'll encounter in graphic programs, like when we use Photoshop or, for example, Corel, or any programs that deal with images or printing. There, they are explained in detail again, like the Paint program, which is a basic program. For now, if we want to save an image so that it only opens in Paint, then as we select, we choose Bitmap. But if we want to save the image so it opens in Photo Viewer, for example, like other images where you click and they don't open in any other program, but directly in the viewer, you can also choose JPG. Or you can select another format depending on your needs. For now, we'll choose JPG. Save it as an image. For example, let's select 33. In the desktop, it asks us whether to save it in Documents or on the desktop. The JPG photos open in this folder. Just like regular photos, double-clicking doesn't open them in Paint. They open in Photo Viewer. If we want to edit in Paint, we can do that. Right-click and select Edit, or Open with Microsoft Paint. That is, open it in edit mode. But by default, meaning when you double-click, it opens like a normal photo. Just like with other photos, you double-click and it opens right up. Because we had registered JPG. Alright, after the Save section, if we want to bring up a new page so that the current content disappears and a new page appears instead, we click on New or press Ctrl+N. Or if we want to open that same photo we saved earlier, we click on Open or press Ctrl+O. We say, for example, bring us this photo that you have saved under the name Service. If, for example, we make any changes to the photo, whether on the page or directly to the photo itself, we have a button called Undo, which removes the changes. Redo brings back those same changes. Their shortcuts are Ctrl+Z and Ctrl+Y. Ctrl+Z is for undo, and Ctrl+Y is for redo. After that, we have something called Print Preview and Print. Print Preview shows us the file just like when we read it in WordPad. It first displays how this file will look when printed. It shows whether a page is landscape or portrait, what its size is, and all its details. We also always have buttons like Zoom In and Zoom Out. Or we can go and adjust its arrangement. We can select the paper size, which should be A4. We can set the margins so that there's a 2-block space on each side. We can choose the orientation of the paper, portrait for vertical, landscape for horizontal. And here we can also select its size. For now, let's keep it at the current size, which is 100, the size of a vertical page. Next page means half of it is on one page. Previous page means half of the previous page is on another page. If we select 2 pages, it will work out even better. So, as you can see, the door and the print have all worked successfully. In one page, it shows 1 trip, and in 2 pages, it shows 2 trips. I had zoom in and zoom out options. In one page, the next and previous functions still work. Well, now the issue is, for example, the size of the image. We can go to the page and choose a size so that it fits the page. Or, for example, we can make it bigger, let's say 120, then we know it will take on that same look, and on another page, it will go completely off. But if we do the opposite and, for example, tell it to make it 90 for us. Alright, let's see. Still, it didn't fit here. For example, let's say make it 8. But there was an even easier way, instead of us telling it to try different sizes one by one. If you try a few sizes, you could just directly tell it fit to make this fit for us. For now, what's selected is 2 by 1, based on the setting. 2 by 1 means fit it vertically on one page and horizontally across 2 pages. That means its width spans 2 pages. But if you tell it 1 by 1, that means try both horizontally and vertically to fit it on a single page. Fit it to one page both vertically and horizontally. Then we don't specify the scale. It figures out by itself which scale will fit. Once you click OK, it will fit it for you there. We can also choose where it should be printed. If we select horizontally center, the image will, for example, if we choose horizontal, the image will be centered horizontally. If we choose vertical, the image will be centered vertically. If both are selected, the image will be printed exactly in the center. When it's printed, the image will be perfectly centered. And if we uncheck it, the image will appear at the top and to the left. After opening it, we click on Print. Control+P is the shortcut for print. We click, and it prints. It asks us, since we set the default to PDF Reader, which printer to choose and how many copies to print. Prints directly. The 3 tabs didn't open because we only told it to print. What format had we selected? PDF. We could have changed the formats from here, but right now the default is set to PDF. Now, if we open this file, it has a PDF format. What does PDF mean? It stands for Portable Document Format. Now, the document has opened as a PDF. If there's a printer, later on we can come back here and print it again. Alright, here we have something else called Send as Email. By double-clicking on that, the Outlook program opens for us. In Outlook, as we've learned in WordPad, we write the recipient's email address in the To field. In the CC section, you can send a carbon copy to someone else if you want to email it to them. In the Subject section, you can specify what your file is about, like the CV we created in WordPad, meaning it's a photo that you're sending. Similarly, you can attach other photos here. You can add them as attachments. Then write your message in this box. And we had already explained this button to you in the previous lesson. At the end, you click Send. We've worked on these topics together. Some of them had shortcuts, some didn't. Well, the ones that had shortcuts like Control+S, Control-Z, Control-Y, Control+N, Control+O, and Control+P is for printing. Some commands don't have shortcuts, or for some commands, you might not have a shortcut. Again, it's just the Alt key that they press. Only when we press the Alt key, it automatically brings up the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 8. We said there are 8 commands, that's why it goes up to 8. If I had added a couple more things, 9, 10 for example, then 9 and 10 would show up there. It's just that these 1, 2, 3 aren't standard. So you shouldn't always assume these are fixed in your mind.
Save is always number 1, but save isn't always number 1, for example. But in every help menu, it can be different like this.
For example, let's say we work with save as an example. How many does new show right now? 4. If you press 4, new will open a new page. But if I go and rough out this new, now if I cancel new, in the end it should show up, because the last command gets activated. What does it show more of? 4. Now it shows 8. So, the numbers that are shown here are not standard. Each command shows the number based on when it was activated. If it was at the beginning, it would show 1. If it was at the end, it would show 8. So, don't think that, for example, Alt+1 or Alt+8 will always open the new page. Whichever Alt key you press, its number will appear. It's up to you to decide. So we can use this shortcut again. For example, if I press 8, it brings up this number and opens a new page for us. After that, we have the File tab. In the File tab, we also have a repeated topic. For example, we want to save a file. We tell it to save, either by pressing Control+S or Alt+F. Then it saves it. If we want to save a file again with a different name, we can use save as with the shortcut Alt+F-A. When we use save as, it asks us which format we want to save it in. The format I mentioned earlier, like what GIF means, what BMP means. They also call them paint pictures. JPEG refers to camera photos. PNG, which stands for Portable Network Graphics, refers to images without a background, like logos that are saved with a transparent background. Or we can also choose some other formats. Usually, we either select BMP or JPG there. If we want it to be in Paint, then BMP. If we want to save it as an image so that we can view it perfectly on a mobile phone, TV, or anywhere else, we have to choose JPG. After saving, if we want to open a new page, we use Control+N or Alt+F+N, or if we want to open an image we've already saved, we press Control+O or Alt+F+O, and then open the image. To open images, if we go to the File tab here, it shows you recent files. You can click on these to open them, or use shortcuts. Press Alt, then the numbers are written there for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, if I press 1, it should open the same file, number 33, or the file that was first, with its shortcuts right there. I open it directly if I want. If we want to print a file, we go to the Print category. It shows you a preview of the subject beforehand. In another section where we have the tablet, we arrange and set the order. What I mentioned earlier, again in another section, either from here you print or control, or from this part, later you press print and then we print it out. Another thing we have is from scanner or camera. If a scanner is connected and we want to scan a document, a subject, or a photo, that's what it's for. It's only when the scanner is connected that it works. It activates automatically When you scan by clicking, it transfers the data here for you. It works the same way if you connect camera ports and panels. Otherwise, it's different. As I mentioned earlier, this one doesn't have sharpness. Earlier we said that if we want to, we can press Alt plus F or Alt plus FU, but in this program we had moved from sharpness to the previous program. We press D. It becomes a scene email. Its shortcut keys are different in this program. It's not standard. Our scene email should be something called set as desktop background. For example, if we have a picture. For instance, if we want to set this picture as the desktop background, to have set as background bring up this picture instead, it still says, we go to the File tab. I'm always calling this a tab because in the previous program we had a menu, but here it's a tab. We go to the File tab, then to the Set as Desktop Background section, and when I select Center, it puts the desktop background on the computer at its original size, meaning it doesn't make any changes to its dimensions. At the original size of the picture itself. It sets that as our desktop background. If we tell it to bring the desktop for you in a different way, but have it stretch the size for us, stretch it out and make it fill the whole desktop, basically resizing it so it covers the entire desktop. If we tell it, instead of, for example, messing up the original size of the picture, what happens if we select Tile? Meaning it doesn't resize it completely, but it tries to repeat it as much as needed so that the desktop gets filled with that picture. So if we select it in the center mode, it shows us the original version. It fills the rest of the space with color. And if we select, for example, their action, it tries to stretch and repeat it until the desktop is filled. We also have something called Property. If we want, we can also open Property with the shortcut Control plus E. Control plus E, first of all, gives us information about the file you're working on. If you press Control plus E, it shows when and at what time the file was saved. Its size is given in kilobytes. Its resolution is 1200 dpi. This program gives you information about the page itself. But if I open another page, on this page it says not available because our file hasn't been saved yet, so it doesn't show its size. By default, its resolution is also 1200. The second thing here is it asks us color base, meaning what should our color palette be? That is, should the drawings and colors we work with be in color or black and white? If we choose black and white, then the whole page will be in black and white. If we draw an object or create something, everything will only use black and white colors. It won't save any other colors. But we didn't want to do that, so we would set it back. With color, everything becomes colorful again and we can use different colors. If we want to make the paper size a bit bigger or smaller, again, we go to the same control before changing the paper size. First, we need to select the unit of measurement. Right now it's in inches, but if we select centimeters, it will switch to centimeters. Previously, up to this point, it was 2 inches. Now, for example, it becomes 4 centimeters. And we can also choose pixels. The point up to here was previously 2 inches. Now it becomes 200 points. It has 200. So we can choose different sizes. Most of the time, we're more comfortable with inches. Let's set it to 1 inch. In my opinion, we need to select it again. How wide do you want your page to be? We said its default is the size, but you can make it smaller or larger from here, or you can specify it yourself. Earlier, we worked with sizes like 5, 15 and a half, or maybe you want 14 and a half. It's not expected to be exactly 14. Everything at 14.5 means our content reaches up to this point, and for example, we set it to 15 and a half. A 5.5 dog is also 5 and a half tall, and its width is 14 and a half. So we can choose the width and length of the page from there. What the program tells us is the information we learned in the previous lesson, and we have an exit button that lets us leave the program. And finally, dear friends, I ask that if you found it useful, please like the videos to support us and help the channel grow, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next sessions. Goodbye.